When the gavel finally fell and Sean "Diddy" Combs was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison, the reaction was swift and visceral: shock, disbelief, confusion. To many, it felt like the end of an era, a cultural titan brought to his knees. But to Michael Franzese, a former capo in the Colombo crime family who's lived that life on the inside, this isn't the end, it's just the beginning of a far darker chapter. Franzese makes it clear that while the sentence itself may seem like justice, the real punishment is still to come. Diddy's legal team, he says, managed to navigate a volatile legal minefield with skill. They faced down explosive headlines, public outrage, and emotional courtroom testimony from Diddy's family, and still walked away with a result that could have been much worse. Federal prosecutors had been pushing for over a decade behind bars, but Diddy's team secured just over 4 years. With time served, he could be free in 3. Yet even that is no victory. Franzese warns that prison has a way of stripping away everything: your ego, your illusions, your power, leaving only the raw truth. For someone like Diddy, who's built a life on control and dominance, that is a punishment all its own. Asterisk as the reality of his sentence sank in, Diddy's emotions were reportedly a mix of rage, regret, and disbelief. This wasn't how the story was supposed to go, not for a man who once dictated the pace of pop culture. But now, the next chapter is out of his hands. Franzese explains that while judges can recommend a facility, the Bureau of Prisons makes the final call on where an inmate serves time. And for someone with Diddy's notoriety, a cushy minimum security club-fed camp is unlikely. Those facilities are reserved for low-risk offenders and feature open grounds and relaxed restrictions. Diddy's high profile makes him a security concern, increasing the odds of a medium security facility, where fences, strict routines, and constant monitoring become daily reality. His lawyers are fighting to get him into EFSA I-Fort Dix, a lower security prison in New Jersey with strong rehabilitation programs and proximity to his family. But the Bureau is under no obligation to comply. And so, even in this next step, Diddy finds himself powerless, waiting for a system he once thought he was above to decide where he will spend the next years of his life. If Diddy thought the courtroom was humbling, Franzese says prison life will be even more so. Gone are the tailored suits and private jets, replaced by standard-issue uniforms, 5 a.m. wake-ups, and communal living. Yet amid the monotony, there's one thing every inmate thinks about: how to get out sooner. Franzese notes that one of the most significant opportunities for sentence reduction is the Residential Drug Abuse Program, RDAP, a 9 to 12-month course that can shave up to 18 months off a sentence. If Diddy qualifies, it could drastically cut his time behind bars. He'll likely request placement near his family and lean on any program available to improve his circumstances. This mindset, strategizing, adapting, and planning, is common among high-profile inmates. It's less about punishment and more about survival and positioning. Diddy will have to rebuild from the ground up, learning to live without control, without luxury, and without the empire that once defined him. And in that quiet, he will be forced to confront the choices that brought him here. Asterisk, despite the harshness of prison life. Franzese points out that Diddy's fame and fortune could become his greatest tools on the inside. Inmates in medium security facilities are often looking for a way out, and someone with Diddy's resources might be seen as a golden ticket. Franzese recalls his own experience being approached by fellow inmates proposing business deals and seeking financial help. Most won't see Diddy as a threat to be attacked. They'll see him as a potential opportunity. Violence, Franzese explains, is far less common in medium security prisons unless someone has nothing to lose. As long as Diddy carries himself carefully and avoids disrespect, he's unlikely to face physical danger. But that doesn't mean he's safe. High-profile inmates attract attention from other prisoners, from staff, from the media. Every interaction is a test, every relationship a potential risk. And in a place where alliances shift quickly, even wealth and status can't guarantee safety. Asterisk, while Diddy may find allies inside, outside the prison walls, the resentment against him runs deep. Gene Deal, his former bodyguard, unleashed a torrent of anger and contempt in the wake of Diddy's sentencing. Once willing to risk his life for him, Deal now says he feels nothing but satisfaction seeing his former boss brought low. He accuses Diddy of betrayal, even alleging that Combs once plotted to have him killed. Deal lists name after name: Craig Mack, Black Rob, the notorious B.I.G. claiming Diddy abandoned or mistreated them all. He mocks Diddy's courtroom breakdown, calling it karma, and declares that God himself is showing Combs that no man is untouchable. To Deal, Diddy's tears mean nothing. His apologies ring hollow, and his suffering is overdue. This raw, personal hatred highlights a larger truth. Diddy isn't just fighting legal battles. He's fighting a public reckoning decades in the making. And some of those who once stood closest to him now want nothing more than to watch him fall further. Asterisk Diddy's legal team is pushing hard for him to serve his time at FCI Fort Dix, a massive low-security federal prison in New Jersey. On paper, it sounds ideal, close to his family, with programs aimed at rehabilitation and drug treatment. The RDAP program there could cut a year off his sentence if accepted. But experts warn that Fort Dix is far from the safe haven it might appear. Christopher Zukis, author of the Federal Prison Handbook, calls the facility unpredictable, citing gang activity, contraband issues, and staff shortages. Worse still, Fort Dix is home to many inmates who idolize Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, and many of them believe Diddy had a role in their deaths. That resentment could follow him inside, turning potential allies into threats. Even trivial grievances, like the infamous making the band Cheesecake Walk, are remembered by those eager to settle scores. At Fort Dix, Diddy may find himself walking a thin line between rehabilitation and retaliation. Asterisk, the dangers Diddy faces in prison aren't just physical, they're reputational and legal. The specter of Tupac's murder still looms over him, and Keith D, whose trial begins in February, is threatening to pull back the curtain on what really happened. He claims Diddy ordered the hit on Tupac and Suge Knight, and while proving it would require more than hearsay, even the suggestion fuels hostility inside prison walls. Circumstantial evidence, witness testimony, and financial trails could all play roles if prosecutors decide to pursue the connection. And if the narrative takes hold among inmates that Diddy is tied to Tupac's death, it could endanger him further. In prison, reputations spread fast, and guilt is often decided in the court of opinion long before any legal verdict. For someone like Diddy, whose name is already radioactive in many circles, that's a volatile combination that could haunt him every single day of his sentence. Asterisk, in court, Diddy broke down in tears. He apologized to Cassie Ventura, calling his actions shameful and sick, claiming to hate himself for what he'd done. But many believe those words were empty and calculated. Critics like Charlemagne argue that Cassie knows too much, and that Diddy's remorse is more about damage control than genuine regret. The prosecution echoed that sentiment, pointing to reports that he had public appearances lined up even after his apology. They called his attitude the height of arrogance, accusing him of treating the law as a performance rather than a punishment. Even his attempt to sway the court with an 11-minute video portraying him as a philanthropist backfired. It looked more like a campaign ad than a plea for mercy. Every hug and handshake shown on screen was tainted by the knowledge that crimes were being committed at the same time. The message was clear. Diddy's words might change, but his actions haven't, and that makes them hard to believe. Asterisk, many legal experts believe Diddy's defense team damaged his case more than they helped it. Their pre-trial motions attempted to discredit the victims, arguing they had no right to address the court, a move Judge Subramanian called inappropriate and tone-deaf. During sentencing, only one of 5 defense attorneys even mentioned the victims, and even then, they argued Cassie had consented. Such arguments undermined any attempt to present Diddy as remorseful. Prosecutors seized on this, highlighting how Diddy's apologies have always come after he's been caught, often followed by new allegations of abuse. They pointed to the timeline, first denying Cassie's claims, then apologizing after the video surfaced, then allegedly assaulting another victim, Jane, afterward. These contradictions painted a picture of a man more interested in optics than accountability. Even his sentencing video landed flat, described as tone-deaf and self-serving. It was a major miscalculation, one that may have cost him leniency. As Diddy awaits his final prison designation, one thing is clear: the era of control is over. In prison, there will be no entourages, no luxury, no one to obey his orders. Instead, there will be chow halls, yard time, and introspection, and perhaps, for the first time in decades, silence. Questions remain about what happens when he gets out. Will he seek revenge on those who exposed him, like Gene Deal? Deal himself dismisses the idea, saying he's not worried about a man he once protected. If I wasn't worried when he was free, he says, why would I worry when he's locked up? Still, Diddy's future is uncertain. Whether he spends the next few years in relative peace or constant tension depends on forces beyond his control, the Bureau of Prisons, the inmates he'll live among, and the ghosts of his past that refuse to stay buried. One thing is certain: the life he knew is gone, and the world he's entering will not bend to his will. Asterisk, and so, the man who once ruled music, culture, and boardrooms now faces his most humbling chapter yet. No entourage, no red carpets, just concrete walls and cold reality. Whether Diddy adapts, atones, or unravels remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the story isn't over. The next few years could rewrite everything we thought we knew about him. If you're as captivated by this unfolding saga as we are, don't forget to subscribe to Spill Chronicles, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned because this story is only getting darker, messier, and more explosive from here.